welcome to another episode of Surroundscapes, the podcast hosted by Bluesound Professional, focusing on various aspects of the commercial AV industry. This is another one of our case study episodes and is a new departure for us because I'm venturing out of my office here into Portland to go and visit one of our installations. This is a much talked about restaurant, Lashell, and I'm going to be interviewing the owner, Dirks, as well as doing a video talk through of the system. They use quite a bit of our equipment in various different sub-restaurants within a big building, using the BSP 200, the BSP 500, larger IP65 rated speakers outside, the BSP 1000, and the B100S player, playing through some really nice little old vintage tannoy speakers in the main restaurant. So come with me as I visit Lashell in downtown Portland. I'm here today talking to Dirks from the Portland restaurant Lashell. So welcome to the podcast,
Thanks. Happy to be here.
So tell us a little bit about this restaurant and the complex it sits within.
Sure. Well, we're sitting in Lashell. It's a 60-seat French bistro neighborhood restaurant, just opened this spring in Southeast Portland. But as you mentioned, Lashell is kind of part of this building that has a lot of other stuff going on. Our neighbors are Cornet Custard, a little amazing custard shop that also opened last summer. And then we have an event space and a garden on the other side of the building, all connected kind of through a central kitchen and a central operating space in the middle of the building. Excellent. And how do you use that private dining room? I've been here a few times and it's interesting what you do with that. Yeah. We've used it for our own private events. If we have a special one-off dinner or someone visiting that we want to do an event with. But more than that, we've been using it kind of as a space to host residencies. We actually kind of launched our business back there as a pop-up, and now more recently we're hosting a friend who's doing a 3-month residency with her food concept back there. And over the course of, the next year, we hope to host different events and different residencies in the event space, in the back garden, and kind of throughout the building.
Excellent. Yeah, so that opened last year, and Lashell opened a little while ago. I've been here a couple of times since it's been open. It's established quite a reputation for itself already. What's been the response so far? Yeah, we've been really, really happy with the response so far. We set out to be a neighborhood bistro. It's important to us that we are, connecting with our neighborhood and seeing regulars, and we're starting to see that happen, which is really special. We're kind of trying to just weave ourselves into the fabric of the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. As well as that, getting reviews. There was another one came out just a few days ago that was super complimentary, which is great.
Thank you.
But this isn't your first rodeo. You've had quite a history in the restaurant industry. Can you tell us what you've done both here beforehand and in other places?
Sure. Prior to this project, I've been in the restaurant business here in Portland, Oregon, part of some restaurants in town, Ava Jean's and Tusk prior to this. And then prior to that, I was part of a restaurant group out in New York City called Happy Cooking, started by a guy named Gabriel Stolman. They're still going strong with a number of restaurants in Manhattan and a restaurant in Brooklyn that opened 2 years ago called Sailor. So yeah, restaurant industry my whole life.
Wow. So this restaurant itself, you mentioned it's a neighborhood bistro. It has French influences. What else can you tell me about this and the atmosphere that you hope to create in here?
Yeah. Well, I've always loved the concept of the bistro because I think the bistro exists to be all things to all people, whether you are just popping in for a glass of wine on your way to a different dinner, or you're coming in for a 4-course big meal, or grabbing a digestif on the way home. So I think what's important about a bistro is that it feels familiar and welcoming, but also excellent. We definitely live in an environment where we need to give people a reason to get out of their house and get out of their own kitchens. And so we're trying to kind of walk that fine line between excellence and special occasion restaurant, but an everyday kind of spot where you could imagine yourself being a regular. So I would say the number one thing we try to do is just make people feel welcomed and create a sense of familiarity with the space.
And as you mentioned, you've done a number of restaurants over the years. When planning out this complex, what role did sound have in it all?
Well, I think music in general plays a huge part of a restaurant experience. When you think about an experience that you have in a dining room, the sensory experience is more than just the smell of the wine or the taste of the food. It's kind of the whole environment. And I think, the playlist that you choose is a way to set yourself apart from other restaurants by intentionality. It's definitely easy just to fall back on some, pre-established playlists, but I think the restaurants that set themselves apart choose the music based on the time of night, the night of the week, read the room. And so we have definitely made some decisions to try to make that part of our experience. We're working with a local guy that does music curation to curate playlists for our restaurant and kind of keep those cycling throughout the year.
Excellent. And another part of this whole project is that there's very distinct spaces within this complex. There's the outdoor space, the private dining room, Cornet Custard, the restaurant, the kitchens. They're all wired up for sound.
Yeah.
And I imagine it's important that those people can have their own ambiances in each part.
Yeah. I think one of the things that has been really fun about the system that we have now is if you walk through the complex at 1 p.m, you make your way from the dining room being set up for dinner to the prep kitchen to Cornet to the back event space. Everyone has their own playlist going on at the same time. Cornet is a scoop shop that's going to have a different vibe than our restaurant. But it's very cool to be able to see what's happening throughout the space just from my phone. And this next month, we have our first kind of big block event we're happening. And so it's going to be fun to actually link up all the systems and have one playlist going throughout the entire facility and kind of watch guests move their way through the building with a soundtrack for the whole night.
Yeah, and that's been interesting for me because all of this equipment is linked up to the Excite remote monitoring platform, so I can see whether the system's going okay, what's happening in each zone.
Yeah.
That's been important in some cases to do firmware updates remotely.
Yeah.
So it's a new take on equipment where it's not just a conventional sound system, but you've got network speakers in most of the space. We're going to walk through the space later on, and this space itself has these really cool antique-looking tannoy speakers. So this is a more conventional layout.
Yeah.
But all of the other spaces have network speakers, so we can actually see what's going on, monitor the health of the system all the way down to individual speaker level. And it's also fun in Cornet that they even have a turntable there and they play records some of the time. Last time I came in, they were rocking out to records and that's been excellent.
Yeah.
Most of the spaces here are pretty good acoustically, but this particular space we're sitting in has its problems, and I'm really glad to see that you've taken that on board and you're working on solutions for those at the moment.
Yeah.
What's that going to look like?
Well, right now, you don't really know exactly how a space is going to behave until you get 70 people in it at the same time and you find out. And we have definitely found this space to have just a pretty intense echo and some not the greatest acoustic environment. And so, we are working with a sound engineer to have some treatment done in the next couple weeks, and very excited to see how that works. Right now, we haven't been able to enjoy our music choices as much because we basically have to keep things as quiet as possible to avoid, bumping up the overall volume. So excited to have you back in a month and see how the improvements have taken effect.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. We're talking about some additions to the system once that's done.
Yeah.
I find it really interesting in spaces because there's a really narrow volume window that works.
Yeah.
Too quiet, and it's just another distraction. You don't really hear it. It's just this tinkling thing in the background. Too loud, and you can't talk.
Yeah.
But there's a really sweet window, a sweet spot in there. And I'm looking forward to you being able to get to that space.
Yes, me too. I think that's being outside of that window is challenging. And I think you feel it when you're in a restaurant where the music is present, but not overpowering. Yeah. And I can't wait to be there.
And it really becomes part of the atmosphere at that point. Having said that, though, the private dining room and obviously outside where acoustics are not so much of an issue, you've been able to get much better results, and the music's become much more a part of the events.
Definitely. Yeah.
So when you did this project that's running now in the private dining room, did they come in with their own playlists of distinctive music for the type of cuisine and that sort of thing?
Yeah, we're the residency is called Izume, and they came with the full package, their own branding, their own menu, and they're managing their own playlists every night. Yeah.
Excellent. Anything else that you think is important?
That's a good question. Well, I think I'm really excited, like I said, for this big event we're doing in September or October. I think it's going to be really fun to watch a guest. The plan is that we're going to use the kitchen as a bit of a throughway for the guests to make their way to the different parts of the space. So I'm excited for a guest to kind of go from the garden to the event space all the way up to the front restaurant and watch them move their way through the building and kind of experience the sound throughout. So that'll be a first. But we're just, loving the system so far.
Excellent. It's been fantastic working with you over the last year.
Yeah.
Some of the deployments got a little delayed, but it's been fun to see the initial deployment in Cornet and the private dining room.
Yeah.
And now this deployment in this beautiful space here. As I mentioned, I've been in a couple of times. I'd like to, before the summer's out, get into the pop-up because that will be really fun to see.
Yeah.
And I wish you every success in the future.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Lou.
Thanks.
Here I am in sunny Portland, Oregon at Lashell Bistro and the complex of restaurants and spaces that are a part of it. So the first one of these I'm going to go into is the wonderful ice cream store, Cornet Custard. Here we are, and I'm just going to follow this gentleman in. And here we are in Cornet Custard, which is a really fun ice cream store. You can see their speakers over here. And what they're doing here is, at the moment, they're spinning vinyl, which is excellent. The sound system is totally in the speakers, power over Ethernet, and it's a clean, minimalist installation that allows them to play the music they want at the volume they want. Now I'm moving through to the prep kitchen here, and this space serves all of the spaces in the complex. And again, they have speakers up here to allow them to play the music that they want to while they're preparing stuff. This is usually different to any of the other spaces, and we'll continue on walking through the whole complex. As you can see, this is a large space, and here we go into the relative tranquility, at the moment at least, of the private dining room. So this is the waiting area, and this is set up. You can see the speakers here for a pop-up that's happening this summer. Over here is Zume. And this is here for 3 months, using this lovely private dining space here, and also extending into the garden space. So out here, there is a different zone, along with different speakers up here. They can play what's going on inside, or something entirely different. And this provides an extra space for guests or for a completely different event. So we're going to finish off this little tour in the main Lashell space. And here it's a French bistro vibe. It's the middle of the day at the moment, so there's no service going on at the moment. This space has these really beautiful old tannoy speakers. So this space is unique in this project because we don't actually use PoE speakers for this. What we use here is a multi-channel amplifier that's zoned into different areas in the space, as well as a streamer here. It's sideways on, but it's a Bluesound Professional B100S streamer. This space is linked with other spaces, including the kitchen in here, and all of the spaces I've taken you through to, the other prep kitchen, the private dining room, the outdoor space, and Cornet Custard. They can be linked or they can be separated, and you can have the same music or different music. So this is the space. It's a wonderful place. If you're in Portland, come and eat here. It's fantastic. So I'm back in my office again now after that little field trip. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always, if you like Surroundscapes and want to hear more, please subscribe on YouTube or your chosen podcast app, and come back and see us every Tuesday for new episodes. You can also find us at surroundscapes.bluesoundprofessional.com. Thank you.